resolved that the Monday, July 4th, 2022 agenda be approved as presented. Questions? Hearing none, I'll call the motion to vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down, opposed, hands up. Motion is carried. Item number 3, disclosure of interest. We have no disclosures, so we'll move on to item 4, adoption of minutes. Do a motion moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Malashewski. Resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held Monday, June 2022 be approved as presented. Are there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I'll call the motion to vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down. Opposed, hands up. Motion is carried. Item 5, reports from administration. Item I. Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Your Worship. For the first report with respect to the travel policy amendment. So council last amended their policy, or I guess first amended it for the life of this council in 2016. That was bylaw 12/2016. In response to recent high inflation and current high fuel prices, at the regular meeting held on May 2nd, Township's travel policy was discussed, and council directed administration to come back with a report and a recommendation on increasing the mileage rate. Council requested administration poll other communities to see if they are amending their policies in response to the same. Of those that responded, some were under consideration in the near future, while others had previously made changes to their meals and mileage reimbursements. On the specific question of what mileage rate was currently being reimbursed, the responses came back as follows. So NOMA currently uses the Canada Revenue Agency published rate of 61 cents. Shunya, Manitouwadge, Greenstone, and Marathon all also use CRA. I think Marathon is going to be considering a review in 2023 if they hadn't changed already to the most recent rate. Red Rock was being discussed. Nippigan was being discussed. Scriber didn't get back to me when we published the agenda, but I did speak to their treasurer, and she did say they are at 52 cents currently and considering going with the federal or CRA rate as well too. Terrace Bay's reimbursement for transportation in particular is laid out as follows. Transportation will be reimbursed for the lesser of mileage at 52 cents per kilometer or equivalent air travel fares. The most economical method will be used. It is recommended that the policy be amended to reflect CRA published rate allowable for the per kilometer reimbursement. Additionally, on June 10, 2019, a report was brought to council with respect to amending the meal reimbursement of the policy. The report can be found in I posted the link there, but I think Councilor Malashewski said it didn't work on his iPad, so I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but there were some other housekeeping amendments we were making at that time as well too. The change in practice to have one rate for meals instead of being geographically determined was made during the 2020 budget deliberations, but the bylaw amending the policy C325 was not brought forward, likely due to the onset of COVID. So the report written by the previous treasurer said, we don't recommend changing it right now in 2019. We bring it forward as part of budget deliberations. Of course, budget deliberations in 2020 ended on March 7th and the pandemic hit, so March 9th, sorry. Either way, the previous change in practice should be included in this amendment now as a matter of housekeeping. So I do have just a draft copy of the bylaw up on the screen. So two other housekeeping matters are 5 and 18. So we'll get to those in a second. So section 13 shall be amended to read meals are reimbursed as for the following, and that's the $80 a day, 16, 24, and 40. Section 15, which is the transportation, shall be amended to read transportation will be reimbursed for the lesser of mileage at the published Canada Revenue Agency rate per kilometer or equivalent air travel fares. The most economical method will be used. And then, of course, section 18 as well. All travel claims for council, the CAO clerk, and for treasurer deputy clerk must be signed by the mayor designate before payment is processed. The change there was elimination of the finance chair. We don't have the finance committee, we don't have committees anymore. And then, of course, the Income Tax Act was another one we had to change as well too at the time. So the mileage increase will have an impact, though it's not expected to be significant as we're already halfway through the year. Travel will be more limited due to the 2022 municipal election, And the policy still includes a stipulation that travelers be reimbursed for the lesser mileage at published CRA rate or equivalent air travel fares. So what that means is if you, if you choose to drive somewhere, you should be comparing it to some airfares that you've gone and looked up and researched. Make sure you print that out and keep it, and whichever is the lesser is what we'll reimburse for. So as stated above, the increase in meals was already incorporated into the 2022 budget as well. So the meals was already done previously. So the options that council approves the amending of municipal policy manual bylaw 786, specifically amending policy C325, council committee staff volunteer remuneration and travel expenses policy regarding mileage and meals reimbursement, and the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. Option B is that we don't do that and council directs administration otherwise. Administration is recommending option A.
Any questions? I think it's the meals change its fare. It's good to get to one expensive everywhere, and times are changing. Hopefully, new council won't have to revisit this and things that inflation it goes to deflation. But anyhow, I think it's great. No other questions? Okay, we have a motion. Moved by Councilor Tuskey, seconded by Councilor Moore. Resolved that council approves the amendment of municipal policy manual bylaw 7-86, specifically amending policy C-3-25, council committee staff volunteer remuneration and remuneration A and travel expenses policy regarding mileage and meals reimbursement, and that the appropriate bylaw be brought forward. Everybody there? Questions? I'll call the motion vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down, opposed, hands up. Motion is carried. Thank you for your work, Mr. Chair. Item B, delegation submissions.
So just to comment verbally that we did submit an additional delegation submission to the Ministry of Health with respect to EMS and the non-urgent patient transfers. So the deadline was extended to last Friday. So I did take advantage of that and submitted one more after discussions with Mayor Davis and our EMS meeting on the Monday.
We have a request in for the Ministry of Parks and Recreation, whatever that.
Not parks, culture
Tourism, yeah.
Yeah, culture tourism.
And parks.
There are parks now?
No, okay, which one's parks?
Ministry of Environment.
We don't have a submission in for that?
We do not.
Could we, is it too late to get out?
It's too late now.
Reason being, the State Islands has come up again, and with I guess you're gonna have a group come to town, 30th of July, regarding the boat and the cruise ship, so, yeah. And they're probably gonna be interested in, if at all possible, getting the States eventually. So, okay, thank you. Miss that vote. And so that's it. Any questions? Any other delegations? Right?
Are we meeting with Ministry of Transportation?
We did have them on our list, but none of the approvals have been given yet.
Okay.
Yeah, they're on our list for sure.
And what was on the list for discussion?
The highway rest stop.
Oh, okay. No, the other one I was thinking of, if you were meeting with them and we could do it, would have been the health transportation vehicle funding. I think that runs out 2024. And I know the vehicle that we're using now is getting high on kilometers again, and there's a lot of maintenance attached to it as well. And then the next council may want to be looking at replacing the vehicle.
What ministry is that under?
Transportation.
Is that right? Okay. Well, come over next year.
Yeah, it's not like we need to do it right away, but keep it on the radar, that's all.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Any questions for the delegation? Move on to EMS meeting discussion.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we met with Superior North EMS. They actually provided an update meeting. They scheduled a meeting for us last Monday. We met with the various stakeholder groups from the communities. 2 fire departments were represented, as well as the town prescriber, the hospital. All in all, Councilor Shrewsbury wasn't able to make it. So part of it was to be just discussed tonight about that, but the secondary topic would be the fact that they basically gave us the news they were moving forward to consolidate the bases on North Shore. So they're actually asking for support with respect to that, but more to the non-urgent transfers. They would like us to forward. They talked about having literature forward to the ministry on behalf of that programs. Those are the 2 major points of discussion, but we did anything else to discuss.
I was somewhat disappointed. I don't think that, I think they're already sold on the concept that there's going to be 1 station. I don't think that there's going to be any change in that. It's just going to be a question of the location of the station and how it's going to impact on response times. And I think that's going to be the issue to really take into consideration is response time. They did indicate that a lot of the problems that they were dealing with were related to dispatch certain problems. And I don't know, they didn't really indicate how they plan to clean that up to make it more appropriate for the types of calls that
The way
are being requested.
dispatching was going to change, I believe.
Yeah, but they didn't get into any detail
No.
about how that was going to work.
Yeah, I guess we got to look at council here. We got to think about our stand so far is right now is maintaining the present stations and maintaining the coverage. They didn't talk really at all much about coverage. They expanded the change, at least I got from the doctor. So I didn't pick that up. It sounded like if they go to single station, they were going to have 3 bays. So we need to, I think our focus, if we change, needs to be, we want to make sure that they have the two ambulances that bays in the scope, 2 ambulances and a spare. Because that, we have 2 bays here now, 1 bay is for spare ambulance, but want to make sure we're appropriately covered to have 2 ambulances all the time. We can't do anything about their staff shortage there because that's around the world right now. And other than encouraging people to enroll in that sort of thing, but they're encouraged to enroll in every program in the world right now. So, John, so I'm okay. I'm reluctantly okay. I think we should be putting in for our own ambulance in Terrace Bay. So,
who's gonna pay for this base?
well, I think that's the formula that they've already worked out. They've worked it out with Shunia is now building theirs, and prior to this, they did it for Chattaway Falls. The way I believe it works is the municipality they strikes a deal with EMS, SNAMS, and they apply for funding from the government to get it built. They come up with at least an appropriate lease that is a 20-year lease, I think, on the other 2 buildings. And the payback comes back to it's a 0 cost, 0 loss. It's basically the reason they're doing this is SNAMs cannot apply for that type of funding for their own bases. Municipalities can. So they take a lot of money by doing that.
So we'd be responsible for the maintenance and all that other stuff on this?
During the period of that, yes. And that would be probably built into the budget.
You could work that into the lease as well, through the chair. Whether or not they have to hire a company that would do that sort of work from them. It would be municipal asset to start with, and we work everything else out for the lease.
No, I know Rick was talking before about, I think there's two ambulance services in Ontario that are run by DSAT. Is that an option?
I think that can be an option. Back where's that? Talking to Norm Gill last week after that, and he was mentioning that, yeah, he says that you're not going to get the government to change on that. So so obviously Thunder Bay would support it, but that would be, I think you can take a tip of the cat and find out from the government agencies if they would be willing to entertain that. I don't know how you make it go about making it happen. So I'm not against that, but if you want to direct the CIO to look into that and see how it could do that. John's a busy guy, but if we direct him to do that, you have to do that. So I'll wait to hear some of your thoughts.
Well, it sounds to me like there's not going to be anything happen for the next couple of years. If I understood what Mr. Gates had said, was that it's going to be status quo for at least next year and a half to 2 years.
On building?
On the way
The way the
the service is run.
Yeah. So I think
So we've got, next council has a window of looking at it again and maybe looking with new people on council. There may be some new ideas that might come forward, so.
well, I think, you know what, John, would it be too much to just get you to look into see what we have to do to change this?
To maintain the status quo of service.
No, look, opting out of changing how SNEMS is run by the city of Thunder, the council of Thunder Bay versus a separate organization or under DSAP, but the DSAP where all the ministers have an opportunity for input.
Yeah, I certainly can ask questions.
But
It's not a problem.
you at least check that out, and that would satisfy your first question thing.
One other question I have, Jody, I think we pay, I don't know, roughly 100 grand, a little more than $100,000 a year for them to administer the ambulance service in Terrace Bay. I'm pretty sure the ambulance service in Terrace Bay costs more than $100,000 to run, and they get whatever is 75% of their money, the rest of the money from the Ministry of Health. So how can someone that gets the majority of the money from the government tell Terrace Bay we're getting rid of your ambulance service just because they're the administrator?
Well, I think I could be wrong, Danny, correct if I'm wrong, but the majority of the money comes from the levies and municipalities, and Thunder Bay actually contributes the lion's share of that, which we benefit from to a certain extent. But there is some funding from the Ministry of Health, I would imagine as well too. So certainly, yeah, I'm not really sure how to answer your question, but to your earlier point, to Jody's request to look into it, it can be looked into. I don't know where to start on that, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's not up for, I don't know how long their contract is with the city of Thunder Bay. That's probably my starting point. So
Yeah, but you may, like, I don't know, like you say, who you reach out and say, if you wanted to change it, move it, we have 2 ambulance services that are controlled by cities, not DSAPs, the rest are by DSAPs. I think one of the reasons is, now I don't know, is because of distance. Around here, small distances. The rest are, the DSAPs are small or local groups and they can handle it. Here we have a huge group. So sounds like baloney to me, especially in this day and age. But at least I think we should make the preliminary steps to find out, is that an impossible hurdle or is it something that could be worked on?
I think if you're talking about distance, I would think the Kenora Wading River area would be the same issue in terms of how their ambulance services operated.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can get one side of the story. Yeah. Oh, why there's only the 2. Yeah, they're operated by their DSAP.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think that would be one place I'd start looking is an area similar to ours where there are a major community servicing a number of smaller outlying communities where distance is an issue.
I think it's actually the other way. I think the majority of the province are run by the DSAP.
Yeah.
More than half the province are run by the DSAP.
Yeah.
And there's only 2
Yeah.
that are run like ours by a city, the largest city or a city in the region for the rest.
Ours in Sudbury.
City of Sudbury runs City of Sudbury EMS, if I'm not mistaken, and Algoma Manitoulin or Sudbury Manitoulin runs the district ambulance there. So, and then I believe it's Perry Sound. That's my guess.
So anyhow, you get mixed information that depends who's telling the story. Okay, so we'll move ahead and John, you're gonna see if you can find out anything.
Will do.
Appreciate that. So. Okay. Seniors Appreciation Day.
That's just a question. Normally we hold this event in June. It is in the budget, correct? Mr. Treasurer? Looking when council would like to schedule it sometime in the remainder of the summer. We do have senior of the year as part of the discussions in camera later. So, but for the actual event itself, is there any particular time to avoid?
Well, I looked at, that requires some work by the staff and some, some help by the staff in the evening to have that supper and that. I think we don't bring our own food now. We get it catered to basically.
Correct.
But it still requires some. So I looked at that as when's the best time for staff to do that? Is the summertime or in September or October is a better time to do that? That's all I'm looking at, but still look at that. But an extra festival too.
July's out of the question. August is the 75th, so it's either gonna be September or October.
It makes sense to us as well.
Okay,
Fair enough.
Yeah, I would like to see it happen on the current term of the current town council before October, before the end of October.
so you're saying September, Mike?
September, October.
Okay. No. Let's go for September in case it gets delayed.
And I'll be catering too, I'll be, have to look into.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
But whatever staff can stuff.
I mean, for the seniors, it's not gonna be an issue, right? Unless they're snowbirds and they're taking off early, who knows?
It's a free meal. I'm a senior, I can say that.
So I've never done a senior appreciation night, that's the game night, right?
Dinner plus games. But yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I've never done.
Check the tape.
Oh, no, I found all the notes. I found all the notes,
Oh, yeah.
yes. Yeah. Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions on that? Okay, John?
Yeah.
Okay, item II, Community Development Supervisor, report on the pavilion grand opening. Well,
Thank you. So council and administration had previously identified June 3rd for the beach pavilion grand opening. In March, administration was advised by its plaque vendor of supply chain issues, which would prevent the commemorative plaques from being in hand until at least August of this year. With this information, it was decided to delay the pavilion opening event until the township's 75th anniversary celebrations. Unfortunately, supply chain issues remain ongoing, and administration has been notified that the plaques will be delivered late August. No date was specified. With the uncertainty around having official plaques in hand for the beach pavilion grand opening, administration was able to source foreign core replicas as a backup, which would cost $230. Parks Canada has identified that they have allocated $2,000 for the event and would support holding this event during the closing ceremonies of Terrace Bay's 75th anniversary, as it ties in with the event theme of commemorating the past and celebrating the future. The financial implications range from $0 to $230. Our options are option A, the council approves Sunday, August 22nd as the beach pavilion grand opening. Or option B, council does not approve Sunday, August 22nd as the beach pavilion grand opening and directs administration otherwise. Our recommendation is administration recommends option A, the council approves Sunday, August 22nd as the beach pavilion grand opening.
okay, my question is, these plaques, what are the plaques for?
So the plaques are the OPG, as they were a major sponsor. They have a plaque above the multi-purpose room. There's a plaque for the fish, as well as there's a plaque thanking for all the parties involved. So it's a member of the waterfront committee, council. I believe, John, you have your name you requested your name not to be included in
Yeah,
that.
no, my name was. on there.
As well as the major sponsors, NOHFC, FedNor.
I mean, similar to the ones we had in the cultural center, this who was at council at the time,
Yeah.
and who major sponsors were,
Yeah.
that's what Blacky's discussing.
Yeah, okay.
And there's also one for Michael Gravel, if I'm not mistaken, in that same order.
Microgrills is in a separate order.
Okay.
That's,
And that's the bench.
that's correct. It's a picnic table, but
Oh, we're gonna picnic. Okay.
Yeah. so I suppose it centers around, we would be inviting the delegates from NOHFC and FedNor.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have the official plaques. We would just have the replicas in hand.
Makes sense to me. Let's get it done. This is the time to do it.
Okay.
Even if they have to paint it by hand.
Perfect.
Makes sense, everybody? Good. You want to vote on that or just motion? That if this comes under the beach pavilion grand opening, is that where the promise is coming? Is anything else we have to vote on this resolution? Just that.
No, just that.
Any questions? Any further questions? So a motion moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Matthews, be resolved that council approved Sunday, August 22nd, 2022 at the Beach Pavilion grand opening. All in favor? Hands down, opposed, hands up. Motion carried.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Special projects coordinator. Report on the Aged Well at Home Initiative and Home Support Pilot Project. Thank you, Stacy.
Hello, thank you, Rebecca. Today I have Age Well at Home Initiative and Home Support Pilot Project stream. So the Age Well at Home initiative is a federal funding initiative. After a lifetime of hard work, seniors want to live healthy, safe, and independent lives. Seniors want to stay at home in the communities that support them for as long as possible. They also want to increase their sense of belonging and connection to their communities, but this can become difficult as they age. This leads many vulnerable seniors to move to supportive care, such as seniors' homes, sooner than they would have needed to if they had adequate support at home. Low-income and otherwise vulnerable seniors may be particularly at risk. So the In-Home Support Pilot Project is a stream of the AWAH initiative that is delivered under the terms and conditions of the New Horizons for Seniors program. This stream funds eligible organizations across Canada with experience delivering one or more of the specific list of services to seniors. Organizations need to provide at least one of the following eligible practical support services to low-income and otherwise vulnerable seniors in the local area, as well as help seniors navigate and access eligible services provided by other local organizations. So some of these eligible services are like housekeeping, meal delivery and preparation, home maintenance, transportation, snow removal, volunteer drop-offs, and family visiting at home. The Township of Terrace Bay satisfies this eligibility criteria with their existing snow removal program and community health travel program. So the Employment and Social Development Canada will invest in projects from eligible organizations that focus on providing services to low-income and otherwise vulnerable seniors, primarily in seniors' home who need help with aging at home. So the objectives of the initiative are to expand delivery of eligible services to low-income and otherwise vulnerable seniors, primarily in the seniors' homes, to help them age at home by offering additional eligible services and offering existing eligible services to more seniors. And to provide a service that helps low-income, otherwise vulnerable seniors to navigate and gain access to eligible services provided by other organizations active in the local area. So the request for funding should be no less than $300,000, but no more than $800,000. Services must be delivered only within a local area. Application deadline is August 3rd, 2022, and the project must end by March 31st, 2025. Administration would like to apply to the In-Home Support Pilot Project stream for an expansion of services to introduce home maintenance, such as yard work and/or lawn mowing, via a summer lawn care program for seniors. The intention of this program would be to design a rollout that would function similar to our existing snow removal program, but with summer lawn care to address a gap in services for seniors as identified in our Aging in Place and Terrace Bay study. So at this time, there are no financial implications, and I have two options before you tonight. Option A, that council supports an application to the Age Well at Home Initiative and Home Support Pilot Program stream for the expansion and addition of a summer lawn care program for Terrace Bay seniors. Or B, that council does not approve the support of an application and that council would direct administration otherwise. Our recommendation is recommendation A, that council supports an application to the Age Well at Home Initiative and Home Support Pilot Project stream for the expansion or addition of a summer lawn care program for Terrace Bay seniors.
Any questions? Paul?
What are we gonna apply for, Stacy? How much money?
Well, that was something that I wanted to sit down and compare with and see how our existing program works and essentially replicate it for what we could do for lawn care. So I'm gonna have to sit down and verify those numbers for sure first.
And the other question that says local area, does that just mean Terrace Bay or is that Terrace Bay Scriber?
For us, it would be for locally in Terrace Bay.
Mike, any questions?
Yeah, a couple of questions. I think that the lawn care service is one that could certainly well be utilized. But if I'm reading this correctly, whether we can only apply for one stream, we can't apply for like light housekeeping, for example.
From my understanding, yeah, it would be one of these services to focus on first.
Okay. Yeah, the other concern I have is that how do you, who's, I don't want to say this. What is the criteria for determining who qualifies? Like who does the interview to determine whether the candidate qualifies for the support?
So again, as I mentioned, it would be going similar to our snow removal program. So there are stipulations in place there that I would want to try and replicate for that. So I believe it's the low income and seniors that are vulnerable for it. So it would be that same process. So again, part of my research and development would be to sit down with Jen, who oversees some part of that snow removal process, and go through those and how we can go ahead and replicate it with the lawn care.
I have a bit of an issue with that in that unless you have very low income, which is understandable, I certainly support that. But there are a number of seniors that have a reasonable income that could afford to pay for a program, but there's no one to provide the service. So, for example, with lawn maintenance, there are a few people around, but you can't get them all the time. And being a senior myself, I'm healthy enough that I really can't cut my backyard going forward. And I wouldn't meet the criteria for this program, and I wouldn't be the only senior that would like to be able to take advantage of the program, but they don't meet the criteria to qualify for it.
Any response to that, Stacy?
I was going to say, like, the best that I can do is look to see what other programs are out there and see what other ways that they go about doing that, to see how we can design the program.
Similar criteria.
Yeah.
Criteria. Paul?
No, I was gonna say, I think for the snow removal thing, you have to provide a general with an HST.
Just CGST, guaranteed income supplement,
Yeah.
disability.
Yeah.
Couple of questions myself. The first one, are we allowed to, if we're running it, their administration expenses built into this? For running the program, or is that just 25%?
Well, I haven't gone through the actual full list of the application to break that down, and that would again be part of my research and development phase of applying for this grant, would be to determine any of those costs or any of those fees. They go on the assumption that we are going to do this via volunteer basis, but they do state within the application that if we do not have the ability to do things via volunteer, then there's options to go the other route. So again, there could be a section that does cover administration costs that could be applied for. There's that in lots of grants, but I haven't pulled out this one in detail to break it down.
Okay. And next question is, how did we come up with lawn care services? Did we do a survey of seniors that, what is it they would, what is their thing they need the most? Or did we just assume that it was lawn care?
I chose lawn care as, because I have heard it as a discussion amongst the stable before. So I had taken that as one that would be easy to replicate and easy to do.
And it runs hand in hand with the
Yeah, it's the other half of the seasonal
stone
care.
removal. That's gone.
Just a couple points. One, we do have a delegation request into the Ministry of Health with respect to the funding for the snow removal to see if it could be extended to lawn care or property maintenance. And I think that's what we're talking about here too,
Yes.
is the more general property maintenance, not necessarily just lawn care.
Well, yeah, because to
Just
me,
keep that in mind.
oh, this runs into the whole thing about seniors living in home versus living in residence. And that was sort of promised the last election. Nothing's happened. And we changed and went with that in our own situation a little bit. And I would, if we don't get any more support from the government, I would see that the demand and the urgency of a seniors housing in town happen to be a top priority, because they're not living up to what they want the seniors to live at home, but they're not providing the leadership or the support to make them live at home. So
That's where
this is chicken feed to do that. So I appreciate what you're doing. And we're talking to hopefully we're talking to this ministry. So it's going to be another meeting.
It's got to be in by August 3rd though, so.
Well, go ahead. And, okay, we got to vote on that, but I think we got to do what we can, as long as, and it sounds like but you've made the decision on what program you're going to try to do, and I understand it. It makes it a year-round thing. Basically, they're always year-round. So, and goes hand in hand with the one we got. So it should be easier to get. So kudos on that. I'm okay with that. But we have some bigger fish to fry for sure. And this is just slow opening at the gates. So keep on trying to get that door open. Anyhow, any other questions? None? The motion moved by Councilor Malachewski, seconded by Councilor Moore, resolved that council supports an application to the Age Well at Home Initiative in-home support pilot project scheme for the expansion / addition of a summer lawn care program for Terrace Bay seniors. Questions? Hearing none, I'll call a motion to vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down. Opposed, hands up. Motion carried. Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you, Stacey.
Thank you.
Communications, raising the Franco Ontario flag. We had a resolution that we get, I guess, every year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so bear with me, I'll read the motion. Moved by Councilor Malachewski, or Moore, seconded by Councilor Malachewski. Resolve that whereas by the virtue of the Franco Ontario Day Act, which was legislated on April 26, 2010, it is declared that September 25th of each year be recognized as Franco-Ontarian Day throughout the province of Ontario. And whereas September 25th is the anniversary of the first raising of the Franco-Ontarian flag, and it represents over 400 years of French presence in Ontario. And whereas there are more than 745,000 Francophones in Ontario, the largest Francophone community outside of Quebec, and whereas Franco-Ontarian Day has become an annual occasion to celebrate the Francophone community. Now therefore, I, Jody Davis, by the virtue of the power vested in me as mayor of the township of Terrace Bay, do hereby proclaim September 25th of each year as Franco-Ontarian Day and join the Franco-Ontarian community of Terrace Bay in celebrating its exceptional contribution to Ontario's growth and prosperity. Any questions? Hearing none, call the motion to vote. All in favor, hands up. Hands down, opposed, hands up, motion carried. Mr. Clerk, seeing as in this motion that we just passed, that we celebrate, we agreed to celebrate this every year. Do we have to do this motion every year?
We tried in the past, I mean, they keep sending them, so I'm thinking it might be something on their end where their organization requires that they send this out to municipalities on an ongoing basis for the recognition, reading of the declaration. We can try reaching out again and just see if we can have a generic declaration or a static declaration we can just read every year. Set a reminder for ourselves and we can do it on our own. I think it's more for them, it's the recognition and they understand that we've actually passed this.
Okay. And don't we not fly the Franco-Ontario flag year round?
We do now, correct.
Yeah.
At the time this
Yeah,
started, we
yeah.
did.
And we have for some time, and we let them know that we fly it year round.
Correct.
So. Go ahead.
Again, if I may, I believe it's the ceremonial
Yeah,
raising
it
and
is.
lowering.
So do we expect the Franco community to come and get a hold of the administration the 25th that we have
They have attended in the past. I don't know the last couple of years under the pandemic if they did, but we can get in touch with the local club to see if they're going
Yes,
to
please do.
expect some sort of ceremony.
Yeah. Yeah, let's find out that we don't want to be remiss and get blamed for it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Bylaws. We have a motion moved by Councilor Melishewski, seconded by Councilor Moore, resolved that council approves bylaw 15-2022, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 7-86 municipal policy manual, and that it be read a first, second, and third time. And finally passed, signed with the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered this 4th day of July 2022. Questions? Did I not call a motion? Vote all in favor, hands up. Hands down. Opposed, hands up. Motion is carried. Under business and resolutions? Question period. Is there anything you can talk?
Well, we got Zoom bombed earlier, but I did post if you have a question during question period. So it is question period. If there are any questions from those in attendance, please type them into the chat.
20 seconds.
Going once. Twice.
Thank you. Okay, we're now proceeding camera. Right,
We have 5 minutes before we go camera.
yep. Going camera after.
We go on camera then.
Yeah, we can pass the resolution.
We'll
and
pass
Take the
resolution.
break.
Yeah. Okay. A motion moved by Council Moore, second by Council Malachowski. Resolve that council proceeding camera in order to address a matter pertaining to one matter with respect to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, commercial proposal for the township owned land. And one personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, be Senior of the Year award. Questions? None? Call the motion order. All in favor going opposed? Thumbs down, opposed? We're moving into close. Thank you very much.
If you're online, you can come watch us adjourn at the same length. So when we're done. Thanks.